infection. So, in fact, we believe these results from animals provide a very strong foundation for moving this 744 long-acting form into efficacy clinical trials in high-risk populations as a PrEP agent. And the very shortcomings that I began with, of shortcomings of human behavior, lack of adherence, could really be mitigated by the use of a very long-acting agent. And when you put a long-acting agent into people, you got to be sure that agent is going to be safe. Because if you have a side effect, it's really hard to take it out. And so as of late last year, there already accumulated close to 500 sets of patient data, and luckily the safety profile is extremely good. I will tell you that with several hundred more in this past year, the safety data remains good. But it only takes a case or two of bad outcome to completely derail a development program like this. But so far, so good. And then, in fact, my colleague, Marty Markowitz, serves as the principal investigator and is now wrapping up a phase 2 study. So this phase 2 study, like many other phase 2 studies, is principally aimed to acquire more safety data. And so he's doing this in men with some degree of risk. And there's a similar study which has not started yet, largely in Africa, that will look at men and women. Again, to get safety data. But ultimately, what we need to do is to see if it works in human beings. And in particular, in high-risk population of gay men, or for example, in South Africa, among African women, particularly very young women, in fact, teenagers to young women, where the infection rate, could be 10, 11% per year among the population. And I don't know if folks in this audience would know, in gay men population in the US, in Europe, the infection rate is typically down to about 1% per year. It's still too high, but it's 1% per year. In Hong Kong, it's probably 2-3%, which is higher than the US. But you may not know that the percent infection in China is unbelievably high among gay men. And that, on average, nationally, it's probably 6%. But we, as a group, have been studying that incidence rates in Beijing in particular, and in Shenyang to some extent. And that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% per year. And it's frighteningly high. But while it's high, it actually offers an opportunity to prove whether these drugs work or not. Because you go into an area where there's lots of infection, first of all, your study will be shorter, the number of cases you need to enroll will be smaller, the cost will be smaller, and so it would be fertile ground for investigation. And in fact, the company and we are trying to figure out the exact strategy to conduct such a trial. And it would be wonderful to take a sort of a cutting-edge trial and have it done in this part of the world, rather than just here, typically repeating studies that have been done elsewhere. So we're pretty excited, and we believe, this is my personal belief, so there's a little bit of advertisement, that this is now the most promising agent that we have for HIV prevention at this time. Of course, that could change as vaccines and other things emerge, but I'm anxious to help push this agent forward for HIV prevention. So I'm going to conclude here with this final slide. Just tell you the antibody work was done by a group, and I don't have all of them listed here, but I want to particularly credit my longtime colleague Huang Yaoxing and Yu Jian for essentially doing all the bispecific antibody work. And that work is funded by the Gates Foundation as well as the NIH. And for much of the 744 work, Chastity Andrew carried out the monkey experiments, and Marty Markowitz carried out the clinical studies. And then the 744 study would not be possible without collaborators from GlaxoSmithKline and the affiliate company called ViiV. Once again, it's a real pleasure to have spent the last few days with CityU, with your leadership, with some students, and be a recipient of an honorary doctorate. So I will always have very fond memories of this place. Thank you very much for your attention.